Welcome back to the channel, I'm Austin, and it's time for the EM2 vs AK47, discussing which one is the best sniper support AR within Warzone. First I'll go over the stats, then I'll give my opinion on which one is the best gun, and then finally give you the best class setups at the end. We're going to go over the most important stats for sniper support assault rifle options. So starting with max bullet velocity, the Cold War AK comes out ahead with an 1180 to 1155 advantage. This is a positive because both easily make it into the meta bullet velocity, and even surpass it because sniper support weapons only need to be viable out to 40 to 50 meters. One aspect where these ARs struggle is fire rate. The AK-47 does come out slightly ahead with a 600 rounds per minute compared to 531 for the EM2. These weapons are not forgiving when you miss shots. It is highly important to be accurate with these high damage weapons. More bullets downstream is always beneficial, so the AK-47 gets a slight nod here. But hey, these weapons are slow firing, which means they need to have a big damage to compete, and luckily they both meet that criteria. EM2's average damage at close range is going to be 46 compared to 40.5 for the AK-47. This advantage will hold true at long range as well, with a 41.5 to 36 advantage. Now if we look at a full damage breakdown, we're going to look at head, chest, stomach, and limb damage. We can see that both these weapons look consistent with its close range damage output because they have no damage drop off from chest to limbs. This is a new thing for the EM2 because it just recently got nerfed where its chest shot damage was lowered. Its multiplier went from 1.1 to 1 times, meaning that the chest damage will match the stomach and limbs. And this is going to hold true at long range as well. All I'm trying to say is that the EM2 and AK-47 will feel great because you know what you're going to be getting out of them. If you hit your shots, you will like these weapons, and if you don't, well, you won't like them at all. Now that we've gone over fire rate and damage, TTK has to follow, and the most likely time to kill at close range is going to be the AK-47 with a significant advantage of 600 milliseconds to 678. However, they both take 7 shots to kill, and you just need to hit 7 shots anywhere on the body for both of them. So it doesn't matter if you hit 7 shots to their left pinky toe, it's still going to kill them. But where the EM2 does have an advantage is that you only need 1 headshot to get its time to kill to drop down to a superior 565 milliseconds. With the AK, you are going to need to get 2 headshots to drop its time to kill down to 500 milliseconds, which is very good and will beat most SMGs up close. The EM2 has the benefit of only needing 1 headshot, making it much easier to accomplish this goal of lowering the TTK. And before we switch to long range time to kill, let's actually talk about the range itself on these weapons, where they're nearly identical with a 26 meter to 25 meter respectively. The range of these weapons are so similar that there isn't really an advantage for either weapon. But now that we've gone over that, let's move to long range TTK, and the EM2 will actually come out with a minimal advantage here of 678 milliseconds to 700. The EM2 takes 7 shots to kill, and you can hit any part of the body again right here. So that just means 7 shots to the limb will still kill. And with the AK-47, it does take 8 shots to kill now, which is why the time to kill lowered, and you can also hit any part of the body for this weapon. For headshots, both TTKs will need you to hit 2 headshots to be lowered. The EM2's time to kill will go to 565, whereas the AKs will only go down to 600. If you guys have noticed, 2 headshots on the AK-47 is only going to lower its time to kill to its normal close range TTK. But with the EM2, it does get a big advantage because its time to kill with 2 headshots doesn't lower to its close range time to kill. It lowers to its close range time to kill with 1 headshot. Now that was a lot of words, but either way, if you just look at the stats, you can see the EM2 will have the advantage in TTK with headshots or without headshots, giving it a big advantage. Taking a look at damage per mag, the AK-47 will come out with a huge advantage of 2100 to 1600. This stat is more important the bigger the mode, so this makes the stat the most influential within quads because you can knock more players with 1 mag. Now you can raise the damage per mag of the EM2 by using the 50 round instead of the 40, but the EM2 has some serious ADS issues. They aren't quite as bad as they used to be because they buffed the EM2's ADS slightly. Switching over to long range damage per second, the EM2 is going to be a little better with a 353 damage per second to 350. Basically, this just means you can have more damage output at range with the EM2. And fun fact, higher DPS just means the weapon will have a better time to kill. You're probably all wondering which weapon has a better recoil and is easier to aim. I personally believe the EM2 has better recoil because it's solely vertical, whereas the AK has horizontal and vertical recoil, so that makes it a lot easier to control if you only have to pull down your mouse or your analog stick to control the vertical. With the AK, you kind of have to do a little side-to-side movement as well. This makes perfect sense with the EM2 being better in long damage range time to kill. It's just going to make sense. The recoil pattern's easier. You got a lower time to kill at range. It works perfectly. Finally, moving over to the movement stats, both these weapons are going to have a couple pros. The AK has the quicker ADS, movement, and strafe speed, while the EM2 has a faster reload and ADS movement. So the difference between strafe speed and ADS movement is strafe speed is just when you're walking side to side without having your sights aimed down, and then ADS movement is how fast you can move while having your sights aimed down. It's pretty simplistic, and the most important stats for a sniper support weapon will be its ADS and its ADS movement. You're using these weapons at close range, getting your sights up and being able to move effectively with them are key, and of course they're going to split these categories. If you guys could do me a quick favor and like the video, it really helps. Maybe subscribe as well. Alright, I've given you all the relevant stats for these weapons, and it's time for my recommendation. Both. I know this isn't the best answer, but I think the stats say the AK-47 should be better, and it does feel like a great sniper support option. But I feel more confident using the EM2. I think it has a lot to do with its recoil being easier to control because it only is vertical, whereas the AK has horizontal and vertical recoil. And the EM2 can lower its TTK with only one headshot up close, making it drop people insanely quickly. I don't think you can go wrong with either weapon, and these two are so close that it will come down to personal preference. I suggest trying both of these weapons and seeing which one you like better. I'm going to start with the EM2's best sniper support class setup, and what we're going to be doing here is starting off with a muzzle, and we're going to be using the suppressor here because it gives you better ADS and bullet velocity and sprint to fire speed, and because the EM2 has a lower ADS, that's why I went for the suppressor over the agency. And then if we move over to barrel, we're going to go to the 27.4 Ranger because it gives you bullet velocity and vertical recoil, and if you use the task force, it would actually lower your hip fire accuracy and sprinting move speed. And since we don't have an actual SMG to run around with, I think lowering the sprint move speed is a pretty big negative. So we're going to use the 27.4 Ranger. And then an optic, because you have this base optic that's considered a sniper optic, so it gets your ADS super low. You got to switch it up to the Microflex LED sight right here. And that's going to make it pretty easy to aim. You're going to have a nice clean sights and a solid ADS. Then for ammunition, we're going to go with the 40 round mag because all it does is lower your reload quickness a little bit. Because if you use the 50 round, it will lower your ADS, and since we're building this to be used at close range, we want that ADS to be as good as possible, so we're leaving it with the 40 round mag. And now this is where you can sort of alter your class setup here. For me personally, I'm going to use the Serpent Wrap every day. You could also use the Airborne Elastic, but it does get your sprint to fire time lowered, and I don't like that. And then the other change you could do is if you're having a really big issue with recoil, the agency suppressor will help you out a little bit more than the suppressor because it actually does get that vertical recoil tamed down, and that's the main issue with it. But I think getting the ADS up and the sprint to fire speed up is way more important with this thing. And from there, I think this is going to be your best loadout for the EM2, leaving it up on screen for a few seconds now. Now moving over to the AK sniper support build, there's a few ways you can do this. So to start off with, you could use the suppressor, but since we don't have the negative ADS attributes that the EM2 does, I don't think we need to do this, and we can focus on helping the recoil and effective damage range. One, it has really bad recoil, so the GRU suppressor will help with that. Number two, our effective damage range is going to be really important in this because if you remember, it's time to kill up close, beat the EM2 and other sniper support options. If we can extend that 25 meters out anymore, I think that's really beneficial. So with the barrel, you could technically use this 20 Liberator. I'm gonna skip using a barrel to use an optic instead because like I said, the recoil is bad, so I think having a nice clean optic Microflex LED will help a lot with your aim, and it makes me feel more comfortable using this weapon. But if you want to surpass the Microflex LED, you can use the 20 Liberator on the barrel. For the stock, we're gonna hit this KGB skeletal stock up because what does it do? Sprint to fire time, super important, close range, aim walking movement speed, also very important, and ADS firing move speed. So this is just gonna make the weapon have even better movement, and that's going to be key. And then for rear grip, it's the same option as always, Serpent Grip or GRU Elastic. I prefer the Serpent Grip on my sniper support options. And then for ammunition, you always got to increase your ammunition, especially when you only have a sniper as a secondary. But I don't like ruining the ADS by using the biggest mag, so I'm going to go with the 45 round. And this would be my build for the weapon, and I'll leave it up on screen right now as I'm talking so you can take a screenshot of it. But if you want to know what sniper to pair with this weapon, I'm going to put a video up on screen right now that you can click on, and then you know which sniper to use with it. Or if you want a different sniper support option, make sure to click on this other video.